we're here to talk about the Shendrones Thicc. This bad boy is just a monster of a drone. You've got an X8 design that has dual redundancy, power systems, GPS system, video system, diversity crossfire, all this stuff to be like an on-set monstrosity and master. The purpose is for it to be able to carry a bigger camera, like this is the Blackmagic Design Pocket Cinema 4K. You can see what this looks like next to like an Osmo Action. Like it's a much bigger, much meatier camera with interchangeable lenses. So on this, I'm able to take off the entire lens of the camera and swap it out with another one for a different look or a different type of feel. And that's a very important thing to be able to control in order to get the ideal footage for whatever shot it is that you're working on. Now, I prefer this lens here, which is my Laowa 7.5 millimeter lens on a micro four thirds camera. It gives me like what is equivalent to like 15-16 field of view, which is basically what a GoPro is on Super View. So this is essentially a GoPro, but there's a lot better color pictures and color profiles and dynamic range and all sorts of other good magical things that are happening that directors want to see on set. First of all, let's talk about the build overall, what I've got on here, what I recommend, what I am doing. So the Shendrones Thicc is designed to fit both the DJI FPV air unit and analog. Mine's running on analog for a couple different reasons, but primarily I wanted it to be an analog rig. I wanted it to, God, this thing is heavy to hold. I wanted this to be on analog for a bunch of different reasons. One of them was for the ability to run it a little bit longer range, but I think I'm going to switch it back over to DJI. It's just, the DJI is just perfect for being on set. In it, I have a Brain FPV Radix flight controller. Another good alternative is the Lumineer Lux F7. The problem is not a lot of flight controllers currently support 8 motor outputs, so these two are known to do that. I actually have 2 power distribution boards in here. It's going to be really hard to see. There's one in the front and one in the back, and they're just tied together with some big thick wire, and then I have 2 XT60 coming out the back. I run my Shendrones Thicc on 2 separate 5-cell batteries. One of those reasons is to make sure that I have enough milliamp hour for the 8 motor setup, and the other is I can run the 2 XT60 inputs, so I'm spreading the amperage across 2 separate XT60s, so I'm essentially running an XT120. I could run one XT90, but I also wanted to have 2 separate ones in case one of these gets damaged or falls out or something like that. There's 2 separate redundant power systems going into the machine to make sure that it stays in the air. I've got a TBS Unify Pro 32 high volt. It's the one that does like 1 watt of output power, so there's tons of power to have in there. And then I've also got a crossfire diversity. So you can see in the back here, there's not 1 but 2 separate receiving antennas coming out the back of here. That's going to make sure that I always have control of the machine no matter what. Finally, I've also got a GPS unit. So this is the Brain FPV GPS unit. It's tied directly into their flight controller. And I don't have iNav on here, but I'm going to eventually put iNav on here so that I can have it be able to, if there's an issue during a scene or if there's a break before like a shot is going to start, I can just put it into loiter, take off my goggles, talk to a director, talk to somebody and understand what's going on, put them back on, and then continue on with the flight. I currently use individual ESCs on mine, so I have 8 separate individual ESCs. These are slim ESCs from Pyrodrone. I got links in the description for everything. And for powertrain, I have the Hobbywing 2408 1300 kV motors. These are a custom motor that Hobbywing made for me, but I also recommend the Brother Hobby Avenger, I think 2507 or something like that. Another link in the description. We actually found that they were a little bit better for this machine than even these Hobbywings, so don't tell Hobbywing I said that. But yeah, and then when I plug it in, all of those LEDs on the ESCs light up. It looks pretty awesome, I think. Just an awesome, powerful little rig. So with the build overview out of the way, let's kind of talk about the why. So GoPros and Osmo Actions and little cameras like these are great. They do an amazing job, and I've found that they can produce some images that are super unbelievable. But what I end up bumping into is that when I want to go for like a bigger client or like a movie client or something like that, it ends up that they want to have better color science. And color science is just color science and dynamic range, and they want to be able to shoot in RAW. So there's a few different things going on there to unpack. I'll try to briefly touch on each of those. Color science means that there's different depths of color. There's like, it's basically, you can go and have a ton more information and depth and granularity to what colors you can pull out of a picture. And the more information that you have, the more control you have over it in post. So in order to make a camera look like other cameras so that the audience is not pulled out of their the experience of watching it because of a shift of colors, directors and producers want to be able to say, I have a deeper color science so that I can pull more information out of the picture. Another thing that this camera has, these Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras have that the GoPros do not, is a much better low light capability. So GoPros, I think, run like I think it's the equivalent of like an f3 or f4 aperture on the lens, which is very dark. It pushes out a lot of light, whereas I can put this lens on here and it runs at an f2 aperture, which means that it's going to be letting more light into the camera and back into the sensor so that there's more, it's able to run in lower light conditions better than a camera like a GoPro. Not only that, but the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema has this dual ISO function, which means that at, I believe it's 1000 ISO, it might be higher than that, on the Blackmagic, it resets the ISO noise level, and you actually get a very clean image for a high ISO shot. So it allows you to push it way into lower light situations. Now, I'm not saying that that's the end-all be-all mark for what you would use this camera for, but the low light situation is very, very important for directors. Finally, you also have the opportunity to shoot at a higher resolution. I have the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, but we can put the 6K on the new Red camera that's coming out, the Red Dragon? Gemini? Dragon? I think it's Dragon. No, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, I'll figure out what it is. When that camera comes out, it will also fit on this machine, and you'll be able to then now have the red color science. You have interchangeable lenses again, much more control over the image that you wouldn't have with just a GoPro. So let's take a break, and I'm going to go to New York City, and we're going to meet up with Andy Shen, Randy from the New York City Drone Film Festival, and Justin, who's a professional first AC. He works on cameras a lot in New York City, and we're going to kind of show you, or I'm going to show you some of that trip where we went out to test the camera. We tested out the Blackmagic 6K with a big lens, which is a much heavier payload than what we've got here, and you'll be able to see kind of some of the testing process, some of what we were doing to kind of make sure that this platform would be good. For that video, the tune wasn't the best on it yet. We've been working hard to refine that and make it better and better. It's still not perfect, and that's kind of part of why we're putting the project out there, is because we want people to help us, come in, play with it, see what they can get, and see what kind of images they can get, so that we can kind of collaborate and make a better platform for everyone. Okay, so step one for the day is we're going to be doing some test filming with the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema. Gotta meet up with a guy called Justin, never met him before, but he's like pretty much half the reason that I'm out here in New York. And we're gonna go grab some lunch and then go out and test out the Blackmagic 6K with a 11 to something lens and see how that does for flying. So we're gonna go give that a shot. So let's go. All right, so we are out here in the Andy Shen Shendrones test spot. But yeah, so we are testing out the new X8 Shendrone special called the codename Thicc, Thicc. This is Andy's with DJI system. Mine is here with pitiful analog. It's designed to carry the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema. I've got the 4K, but
Mr. Justin has provided his disposable camera, the Black Magic Pocket Cinema 6K, with a, what was the lens? A 11 to 16 f2.8 from
Tokina.
Okay, nice. So the primary goal is to test it on this bigger camera on the X8 with double stack batteries. Sorry, Ryan, if you see this. I'm using a DRL battery, but only temporarily. I just happened to need a skinnier battery to fit in there. And yeah, so we're gonna fly it around, see what we get. Oh yeah, look at that. It's what, $10,000 of flying stuff right there? Nice. He's not happy, but yeah, it flies.
I'll transcode it to 2K and then we'll go from there.
Is this B-raw or what?
Yeah. I'll shoot it on B-raw.
No light
are you
there.
Gonna keep it? You gonna keep all the footage?
Yeah, footage.
So I'm gonna get a copy of it.
No, I'll transcode it all to. You want to transcode
I'd
it?
love
or-
the raw, please.
You got a hard drive?
Dang.
You've hit me a few times.
Look at that. Holy shit.
You can see my nose. Wait, go back.
He's like zooming in on the 6K on a still just to look how crispy it looks. Oh, that's zoomed in there, right? Yeah.
Freeze it on that. Wow. You can actually tell when somebody pulverized my face yesterday.
What? We are wrapping up here at the test field. We did a bunch of shots with the 6K, the 4K. Randy let us chase him around a little bit, which was great. We're going to take the footage back, he's going to transcode it, do a little color grading on it. It looks phenomenal from what I've seen so far.
Okay, welcome back from New York. I wanted to kind of go into some of the history of this project and like some of the things that we've been working on. So you might know that I kind of originally started down this process with like an X-Class build. So it's disassembled for travel right now. But you can see X-Class, big ol' motors, props, much bigger thing, much higher lift capability, and a great solution for it. But we wanted, when we were thinking about using this in a professional environment, in an environment like for skiing or snowboarding or something like that, it was a little bit intimidating to consider, like, you know, that you're flying a 13-inch prop that's spinning at 20,000 RPM right next to, you know, talent, and we don't want to be doing that. So what we wanted to do was bring down the size, make it more like the 5-inch drone that we would normally be carrying out to, you know, work with talent somewhere in kind of a remote location. And so Gab 707 kind of initially produced an idea for a hexacopter. And so this hexacopter, this is the Shendrones Heavy, H-E-V-I, Heavy. And it's a hex version of what we kind of have finally landed on. You know, you have 6 motors, each of them 7-inch props, and you got this. But it actually has a fairly big footprint. I mean, like, even compared to the X-Class, like, you know, it's not that much smaller. And what we found is that the hex didn't fly as well as a quad does. It was a little bit cumbersome to build. It's big, it's heavy, and we didn't really like it that much. So we said, okay, well, why don't we go X8? Why don't we do a 7-inch X8 where it brings that footprint down? And you can see that, like, without the props, you know, it's already smaller than the hexacopter version with a better footprint, and it's way easier to get these props back behind the lens. So you can't see these, you're not allowed to see the props in the lens. You can't do that for, you know, filming for cinema. So if we can make a dead-catted, long nose, 7-inch frame that hides the props from the view of the camera, that's going to be the situation that we want. So we had originally started down this path of the X class. We proved that that a Blackmagic or some sort of camera like this on a bigger platform can do some really, really cool work. We tried to scale it down to the hex, and then this is kind of where we've ended up landing. You've got this awesome 3D printed camera mount that softens everything. It takes out any vibrations. We don't really see any vibrations in this when we're flying it. We see like pilot air shakes or like wind shakes a little bit here and there, but there's no vibrations. Like if you look really close, there's no like, which is the biggest fear. Gosh, I gotta put this down, it's so heavy. And yeah, so we've been playing around with this. We've gotten a few different shots. I haven't gotten like the perfect stuff, the stuff that I really, really want to be seeing. And that some of that is like finding the right stuff to shoot with it. I want to get out and shoot some like drift cars or some athletes or something with it, but finding the right time and place to do it is kind of tricky. Then in addition to that, the tune isn't quite there. It's really hard to tune such a heavy machine with 8 different props with all sorts of stuff going on, and we're really happy with what we've got so far, but we think there's more to be pushed. And so if any of you guys decide to go pick up one of these and try it out, I'd love to see what you get, because we're starting to get a little bit uncertain on how to push it forward. And finally, the whole goal of this is not to like sell you on the Thicc. It's to push forward the envelope of what professional FPV looks like. And some of the next steps that are going to have to be made in the professional FPV environment are better camera science, better camera platforms that we haven't been flying yet. And so we're really excited to push this out as one of the first like Blackmagic dedicated, or not just Blackmagic, but SLR capable FPV performance drone that's not an X class, to start seeing what could we do with this type of camera platform, and where can it go from here to make FPV continue to take steps forward in commercial FPV cinematic blah 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 blah. So I hope that this was an interesting video. I'm really excited to show the Shendrones Thicc. We've been working on this for quite a while. I'm really glad that Andy and Gap707 brought me into the conversation to be able to kind of play around with mine and start figuring out what it's going. This frame is available now if you want to purchase it. Links in the description to everything that's on board my machine, as well as some other recommended pieces. But yeah, we're really excited about this platform. Can't wait to see what other people start doing with it, because I think there's a ton of crazy potential that we haven't yet seen. So thanks very much for hanging out, for watching this video, checking out the Shendrones Thicc, and stay flying.